For weeks now, Maya had been waking up with this quiet weight in her chest. Not sharp pain, just pressure. The kind that sits quietly at first, then presses harder. It felt like she was standing at the edge of a dam that was beginning to crack. Water building behind it, no visible break yet, but you know it's coming. And the strange part? Nothing was technically wrong. On the surface, her life looked steady. Everything seems okay. She was engaged, employed, bills paid, wedding plans moving forward. Everything looked fine. But the heaviness didn't care about appearances. It followed her into the shower, into staff meetings, into conversations that were supposed to feel normal. She would be mid-sentence and suddenly think, "Why does this feel like I'm pretending?" At first, she blamed stress. Maybe she needed a weekend away. Maybe she was just tired. But this wasn't tired. This was thirst, like standing in clean water and still feeling parched. One night, she couldn't swallow it anymore. Kyle was on the couch, phone glowing against his face, scrolling through something that seemed far more interesting than silence. Maya stood in the doorway for a moment. "I feel heavy," she said. He didn't look up. "From what?" "I don't know," she admitted. "That's what scares me. I just feel like something is off, like something is about to break." Kyle sighed, not cruel, just impatient. "Maya, you always overthink. Everything's fine." She stepped closer. "I know everything looks fine. That's the problem. It's like I'm drowning in something I can't see." Now he looked at her, slightly irritated. "You're not drowning. You're stressed. You have a job. We're planning a wedding. Life is good. You just need to relax." Relax. That word landed like a stamp of dismissal. She nodded slowly. "Yeah, maybe." But later that night, as she laid awake in her bed, staring at the ceiling, it hit her. The heaviness wasn't the scariest part. The scariest part was she didn't feel safe saying she wasn't okay. And if the person you thought was your safe place can't hold your confusion, where do you put it? Have you ever felt like that? Like you are bearing a heavy burden. Everything looks good from the outside, but inside, something won't settle. And when you finally gather the courage to say, "I'm not okay," the person you run to hands your feelings back to you? If you've ever been there, stay with me. Because Maya thought she was just overthinking. She wasn't. And what happened next forced her to discover something far more important than why she felt heavy. She had to find out who was actually in her corner. Tuesday started like any other. Halfway through the day, the kids were out on the playground, laughter bouncing off the walls like it didn't cost them anything. The hallway finally quieted. Not silent because schools don't do silent, but quiet enough for Maya to hear her own breathing again. She slipped into her classroom and pulled the door halfway closed, the way teachers do when they need a minute but still want to look responsible. 23 math worksheets sat neatly stacked on her desk. She didn't touch them. Instead, she lowered herself into her chair, holding a paper cup of coffee that had gone cold a long time ago. 10 minutes until the next bell. 10 minutes to not be Miss Kindell who always has everything together. Her phone buzzed, a message from the principal. She turned it face down without reading it. Not an act of rebellion, just exhaustion. The kind that sleep doesn't fix. Her eyes drifted to the motivational poster on the wall. "You are capable of amazing things." She almost laughed, because lately she didn't even feel capable of explaining why her chest felt tight for no reason. And then the thought returned, soft, persistent. What if this heaviness isn't random? What if it's a warning? The bell rang. Maya didn't move right away, and in that tiny pause, the life she thought was steady began to tilt. She just didn't know it yet. By dismissal, Maya had her teacher face back on. Smile, calm voice. See you tomorrow. Backpacks swung, parents waved, children shouted last-minute secrets across the courtyard. Maya scanned faces automatically, half present, half drained. And then she heard it. Maya Kindell? Not Miss Kindell. Not Maya, her full name. Something in the voice was steady, certain. She turned, and for a split second, her brain refused to cooperate. The man standing near the gate looked familiar. Not vaguely familiar, but stored deep in your memory familiar. Older now, broader shoulders, softer expression, but unmistakable. Daniel Adebayo. He wasn't someone she'd kept in touch with. He was someone she had dismissed. Back in school, Daniel had always seemed distant, quiet, polished, hard to read. She had decided, without evidence, that he probably thought he was better than everyone, especially her. They weren't enemies, they just existed in parallel lines that never crossed. So why was he standing here now, looking at her like a lost friend? He smiled first. You still do that. Maya blinked. Do what? You pause before you respond, he said lightly. You used to do that in class. Freeze for half a second, then answer better than everyone else. Her chest tightened. He remembered that? Not just her name, her habits. Daniel? She said slowly, almost testing the memory. He laughed, softer now. Yeah, I was hoping you'd say it like that. Like what? Like you're not sure whether to be annoyed or impressed. Despite herself, she laughed. She glanced at the boy beside him. Your son? He shook his head. My nephew. First week here. I promised my sister I'd handle drop-offs. Maya nodded, still trying to catch up internally. Because this wasn't just running into someone from school. This was someone who had noticed her in ways she never knew. How have you been? He asked. She almost said, good, the automatic answer. But something in his tone made the word feel dishonest. Busy, she said instead. He nodded like he understood. I'm glad it's you teaching here. Maya frowned slightly. Why? We barely spoke. I didn't even know you'd remember me. He held her gaze a second longer than expected. Of course I remember you. She swallowed. He continued. You were bold. One of the few people in that school who walked around like you knew exactly what you were doing. She shook her head quickly. That's not true. It is, he said gently. You spoke up even when your voice shook. You were audacious. Her heart thudded, because that wasn't the version she remembered. She remembered feeling unsure, feeling small, and trying so hard not to mess up. He remembered courage, and for the first time in weeks, the heaviness in her chest shifted. Not gone, but shifted. She stared at him. A bus horn blared in the distance and reality snapped back. Daniel stepped aside, giving space. Nice seeing you, and hope I'll see you again, he said. It sounded simple, but it didn't feel casual. Maya smiled. As she walked back toward the building, she pondered on what just happened, and she felt a little unsettled. How could someone she barely regarded remember her so vividly? What else had she misjudged? If running into Daniel unsettled her, what came next didn't just unsettle her. It unraveled her state of being. 3 days later, an email landed in her inbox. Quick meeting. Maya sat across from Ms. Hart, who looked composed, but not relaxed. There were papers spread across her desk. Quiet unusual. Maya's instincts kicked in. Something is wrong. Ms. Hart was kind but careful, like she was about to deliver news that had edges. Miss Hart. Maya, I'm going to be straight with you. Maya's stomach tightened. Miss Hart. We're restructuring due to budget cuts. Some roles are being eliminated. Maya's ears rang faintly like a church bell. Eliminated? She swallowed. Which positions? Ms. Hart's pause gave the answer. Maya, your role is one of them. The words didn't feel real. They felt like subtitles from a horror movie. I don't understand, Maya said quietly. My evaluations have been strong. They have, Ms. Hart said quickly. This isn't performance-related. It's budget. Budget. As if years of early mornings and lesson plans and staying late with struggling students could be reduced to a line item. You'll finish the term, Ms. Hart continued gently. We'll support your transition, issue you references. I wish I had more control over this. Maya nodded. She even said, I understand. But inside, the dam cracked. She had felt it coming. She walked out of the office in a daze. Students waved at her in the hallway. Miss Kindell! She waved back, smiled, performed. By the time she reached her classroom, her hands were shaking. Not dramatically, just enough to notice. She called Kyle. They're eliminating my role. Silence. Then, wow, that's unfortunate. Did he just say unfortunate? Maya thought, as if he's referring to a delayed flight. I don't know what I'm going to do, she whispered. Kyle exhaled. You will be okay. You'll figure it out, he said. You always do. She waited for something else. Concern, an offer to come get her, a simple, are you okay? Nothing came. I have to run, he added. We'll talk later. The line went dead. Maya stared at the blank screen, and for the first time she allowed the truth to form. Her assumed safe place doesn't feel safe at all. She stood alone in her classroom, and suddenly all hope felt lost. Everything she had built felt fragile. The door creaked open softly. She turned, and there, standing in the doorway, was Daniel. He looked calm, as if somehow he knew he was meant to be there. For a second, Maya just stared at him. Red eyes, tight jaw, hands that wouldn't steady. Daniel stepped inside and closed the door quietly behind him. He didn't ask, what happened? He looked at her face and said gently, okay. Just that, okay. And something inside her broke. Her breathing shifted. Too fast, too shallow. She tried to speak, but her voice snagged halfway out. I'm fine, she said automatically. Daniel didn't argue. He just pulled a chair closer and sat down across from her. Your hands are shaking, he said softly. The room felt smaller. The air felt thin. I can't breathe, she started. Her chest tightened sharply. Her vision blurred at the edges. Daniel leaned forward slightly. You can, he said calmly. You're just rushing it. Look at me. His voice stayed level, feet flat on the floor. She obeyed without thinking. Good. Now name 5 things you see. What? 5 things. She blinked. The board, the clock, the bookshelf, the window, the door. Good, he said. Now, 4 things you can feel. The chair, my sweater, the floor, my heartbeat. Okay, stay with me. He wasn't embarrassed by her, or irritated, or rushing her back to composure. He was anchoring her. And slowly, painfully slowly, her breathing began to steady. When the panic finally loosened its grip, she leaned back in her chair, exhausted. I hate that you're seeing me like this, she whispered. Daniel shook his head once. I'm glad I'm the one who is. That landed deeper than he knew. Maya looked at him, really looked at him. And for the first time, the question forming in her mind wasn't, why is this happening to me? But, have I been leaning on the wrong person? When she finally stood, Daniel didn't hover. He simply said, Do you want me to walk you out, or do you want space? Maya blinked, surprised by the question, not because she didn't know the answer, but because no one had asked her what she needed in a long time. Walk me out. He nodded like that was the most normal request in the world. At the gate, he paused. Are you going home to someone who can hold you tonight? That question landed differently. Maya hesitated. I think so. Daniel didn't challenge it. He just handed her a small card. If it hits again, call me. No explaining. Just call. And for a second, she hated how much comfort that gave her. Because comfort shouldn't feel like a stranger's gift. It should feel like home. When Maya walked in, Kyle muted the TV immediately. He stood up. Concern was there. Hey, come here. She stepped into his arms and he held her. Firm. Familiar. For a moment, she let herself rest against him because sometimes you don't know how tired you are until someone holds you. I'm sorry about today. Her voice cracked slightly. I couldn't breathe. He pulled back, studying her. Like anxiety? She nodded. He brushed her hair back. Okay, that's okay. It happens. You just have to not let it win. There it was, in a heartbeat. She was hoping for comfort without his lectures. You didn't call me back. I was busy. I needed you, Maya said. Kyle exhaled. Kyle ran a hand through his hair. You spiral when things go wrong. Spiral. She felt that word like a stamp. I didn't spiral. It was just too much. Kyle's face tightened, not angry, just overwhelmed. People lose jobs, Maya. Life doesn't get easier. You toughen up. That's how it works. He continued. So what's the plan? You apply everywhere. You stay busy. You don't sit in it too long. She looked at him. I don't need a plan. I needed you to sit with me. He frowned slightly, genuinely confused. I am sitting. No, you're managing me, Maya snapped. He went quiet, processing. I'm trying to help. And he meant it. That was the worst part. When I told you weeks ago I felt heavy, you told me to relax, Maya said. Because you were spiraling. You make things bigger than they are. Her eyes hardened slightly. I wasn't spiraling. I was asking for support. Kyle rubbed his forehead. I don't know what you want from me. Maya's voice stayed calm. Presence. I love you. I know. But some people love you the only way they know how, and it's still not enough when life gets hard. That hit him. So now I'm not enough because I don't react the way you want? It's not reaction. It's who you become when I'm not okay. He went quiet, then said it, honest, not cruel. I don't know how to deal with you like this. She stared at him carefully. This is the man she was planning to marry. And suddenly it clicked. Kyle doesn't love her. He loves the idea of her. The efficient one, the polished one, the emotionally self-contained one. He loved the picture, not the person. She took a slow breath. Then we shouldn't get married. Kyle's whole face changed. What? I can't build a life hoping you'll learn how to hold me when things break. This is one bad week. It's a pattern. You're overthinking. She met his eyes. No, I'm finally thinking clearly. She picked up her bag. Kyle didn't follow immediately. He still believed she'd cool off, because she always had. You're making a mistake. Maya paused, turned slightly. Maybe. But I'd rather risk that than keep pretending I don't need more. And she walked out. Maya got to her apartment. The door closed behind her. The only light was from her lamp. The silence that hit her was immediate. She didn't take off her shoes or change her clothes. She just stood there, breathing. And then, everything she'd been holding in for weeks broke loose. It wasn't pretty crying or graceful tears, but the kind that makes you bend over. Her bag slid from her shoulder. She sank to the floor, hands over her face. Her breathing started racing again. The walls felt closer. Air felt thin. She pressed her back against the door and slid down fully. I'm fine, she whispered. She wasn't. Her phone buzzed in her hand. She looked at it. Daniel. Just checking in. You okay? Her throat tightened. She wanted to type back, I'm not okay. She wanted someone to come sit on this floor with her. But another thought came. Don't turn him into a crutch. So she locked the phone, let it fall beside her, and cried until she was empty. 3 days passed in a blur. She had called in sick, didn't answer texts, didn't check emails. Curtains closed, dishes piled up. Kyle texted once, You good? Then again the next day, Call me when you've cooled off. He assumed, like always, that she'd come back. He took comfort in distraction. Daniel, on the other hand, felt the silence. 3 days with no reply, no read receipts and absence from work. Daniel did what worry makes you do. As a tech strategist who could trace a digital footprint better than most, he found her address. 3 days after she walked out of Kyle's place, there was a soft knock at her apartment door. Maya barely moved. The second knock came. It's me. She froze. Daniel's voice didn't push. It waited. She stood slowly and opened the door halfway. And he saw it. The dim room, the untouched dishes, her red eyes, hair uncombed, same sweater. She looked smaller and exhausted. He didn't flinch. He just said quietly, I was worried. That did it. Her chin trembled. She stepped back and let him in. He didn't interrogate her. He just led her to the sofa to lie down. He rolled up his sleeves, opened the curtains to let light in, and started clearing the counter. Shower, he said gently. I'll make tea. She stood under the water longer than necessary. When she came back out, the room felt different, much lighter. He sat across from her with a mug and a simple plate of food. After a while, he said, "You don't have to do this alone." She stared into her cup. "I don't want to lean on you like a crutch." Daniel nodded. "Good. I don't want to be one." Silence. "But I can walk beside you." No pressure. After a moment, he added, "Are you open to talking to someone? Therapy, maybe?" Maya exhaled. "Maybe." He nodded. "Okay." No follow-up push, just simple, heartwarming conversation. By the time he left 3 hours later, Maya felt way lighter. Maya resumed work the next week, still uncertain, but clearer. She booked the therapy appointment. Therapy wasn't dramatic. It was a slow path to healing, naming things she'd swallowed for years, the need to be strong, the fear of being too much, the habit of shrinking emotions to stay lovable. She learned she wasn't broken. She was only human, and humans shake sometimes. She didn't call Kyle, and he didn't chase. That told her everything she needed to know. 2 weeks after she walked out, Kyle knocked. Not casually. Nervous. "I thought you just needed space." "I did." "I didn't think you meant it." There it was. He assumed she'd come back, like always. Maya studied him and saw it clearly. Kyle wasn't a bad man. He just wasn't built for storms. "You're a good man, Kyle." That surprised him. "But I need someone who doesn't flinch when life gets hard." He swallowed, because deep down, he knew. He left quietly, and Maya closed the door without shaking. She began volunteering with an organization that supported people in transition, people who lost jobs, stability, relationships. She didn't try to fix, she just stayed, the way someone once stayed with her. School year was ending soon, and as promised, her principal wrote her a recommendation so strong it made her cry in the car. "Maya is one of the most resilient educators I've worked with." She started applying early, and by midsummer, she got the call. A newly built high school, leadership pathway, better pay, fall start. She sat on her apartment floor again when she read the email. But this time, she was laughing. She moved closer to the new school. It was a smaller place with brighter windows. It wasn't perfect, but it felt right. Daniel remained steady through her life changes. No pressure, just offering warm, friendly gestures. Thoughtfully, he'd send, "Care for a bite?" Or, "Do you have time to walk?" Or, "Want to catch a movie?" 11 months passed, and one evening, sitting across from him in a small cafe, Maya studied him and asked, "Why didn't you try to fix me?" He smiled slightly. "You weren't broken." Her eyes filled, not from sadness this time, but joy. She laughed softly and said, "You know, I thought you were a snob in school." He grinned. "And I thought you were terrifyingly brave." And at that moment, Maya knew her feelings were undeniable. She truly likes him, the way he listens, the way he is effortlessly present, the way he didn't shrink from her depth. Maya shook her head, still amazed she misread him all through school. Life really is strange like that. Sometimes the person you misjudged is the one who ends up standing closest. 1 year later, new school, new classroom, same Maya, but stronger in a way that didn't require hardness. Students filled the room boisterously. She smiled, not the practiced kind, the real one. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A simple text. "Proud of you. D." She didn't rush to answer. She didn't need to. She wasn't performing anymore. She was steady. She knew who was in her corner. So let me ask you, my dear listeners, when life throws its curveball, and it will, who is in your corner? Who sits with you when you shake? Who stays when you're not polished, not strong, not easy? Not who looks good beside you, but whose presence feels like home. Because love on easy days is common, but love that holds steady in the storm? That's rare. If this story resonated, kindly click the like button and subscribe to Wait, Let's Talk. I'll see you in the next one.